Meanwhile, we have another reason to be concerned about who exactly ICE is hiring to join its ranks. Now we have this story this week in Slate. A journalist decided to test the ICE recruitment process by actually applying for a job. Laura Jadid said she gave her resume to ICE at a career expo in Texas last August, did a brief interview, and then days later received a tentative offer to join the agency. DHS called Jadid's story a, quote, lazy lie, adding this individual was never offered a job at ICE. Laura Jadid joins us now. She's the author of Firewalled Media on Substack. So, Laura, we want you to settle this once and for all, and I believe we have something we can flash on screen, too. Were you given a job offer from ICE?
Well, the portal said that I had a final offer, and they gave me an entry on duty date of September 30th. Now, if that means something else, it would be nice if they could elaborate. I did ask them for comment. They did not respond. And after I posted this video on, I guess, X now, no response from that either. So until I hear back, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it means what it says it means.
When you've had a security clearance before, you've served in Afghanistan, you've been in the military, you know the process. What went wrong here?
It's absolutely nuts. I mean, this is one of those things I feel like it should be obvious on the surface, but people who've been through the process know how weird this is. To not have filled out any paperwork to get the background check started, something I didn't mention in the original article, but which is true. Jadid's an Arabic name. My father immigrated from Syria. I'm a second-generation immigrant. And when I got my security clearance in the military, that held it up by several months. And so the idea that the narrative that, oh, they must have done the clearance, they just don't care that you have, lefty views. Well, they should have cared about that, though. So it's all very odd.
So I'm curious, would you have made a good ICE agent?
Well, I don't really like brutalizing civilians and children. So I don't know if I'm cut out for it, just psychologically,
I need to know what that interview was like. So you went to this job fair and had a 6-minute conversation?
Yep, I timed it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was, the questions were so incredibly basic. I mean, things I could have just filled out in a form, name, how old I am.
They asked that in an interview?
Yeah, well, they asked about my date of birth and how old I am, just to,
Math
I guess.
is not their thing.
What can I say?
You wrote that they were the interviewer was pretty disinterested in the information you were giving during that interview.
Yeah, I mean, I volunteered because, I did a skills-based resume. There's a pretty big gap on there because I didn't tell them about the journalism. I just kind of left that off. And I had my kind of rehearsed explanation for those years. That's true. I gave it, I had a bit of a quarter-life crisis. I worked at a bar for a while, went to college, did some gig work. I'm a freelance journalist. It's gig work. And you would not believe how much she didn't care. No interest whatsoever.
So what were the red flags that you think they missed about you besides the obvious?
I really feel like, okay, so I feel like my resume was good enough to pass the sniff test. I'm not surprised that, that they passed me on to the next level. It's just that if they had put my name into any computer at all, they would have immediately realized that I'm just not what they're looking for. I've been very outspoken for years about the Trump regime, about ICE specifically. It boggles the mind. I was worried they were going to figure out who I was while I was there if they just were going to run my application.
I was going to say they're probably worried about pro-Palestine posts that you may have made, which clearly is not something that got flagged or anything that was said that made them say, hey, this is a person that we want to.
Yeah, and I've been so vocal.
Did you just sense a desperation for warm bodies to fill these roles? How many people were at this event that you went to?
Yeah, so they'll tell you all day about how many people are eager to join ICE, and maybe that's true, but at this specific event, they entered out the Arlington Esports Arena, which can seat thousands, and I don't think there were more than 150 people there for the 3 hours I was there. No lines to get into security, no lines to get into the venue, 6 people ahead of me to interview. It really, there wasn't a big crowd. Even with the $50K bonus, people just aren't there for it.
So I guess what has this taught you about who ICE is hiring?
What it's taught me is we don't know. They don't even know. I mean, they're wearing masks. They've got guns. They're in our cities. They're brutalizing men, women, and children. They're murdering people. And not only do we not know who they are, I don't think they know who they are. This thing where they insisted they didn't offer a job, how would they know?
Well, and also I want to point out that you are not a one-off in the sense that a report from NBC found that, quote, an artificial intelligence error in how their applications were processed sent many new recruits into field offices without proper training, according to 2 law enforcement officials familiar with the error, referring to ICE. So basically, an AI tool scanned the word officer and resumes, clearing candidates where that was found for lesser training protocols. Does this surprise you at all, given what you personally experienced?
That sounds exactly on brand. In fact, one of the speculations, and I think this one makes the most sense to me, is that I experienced an AI glitch of some kind. Because how else could this possibly have happened? This is what happens when you implement these systems too quickly. Things fall through the cracks.
So now they are launching this $100 million wartime recruitment push. They want thousands more officers. There are thousands just in Minneapolis alone. What do you think we're about to start experiencing in this country?
I mean, if they're just taking anybody, if they really are truly just taking warm bodies, then what they're basically doing is they're selecting for people who see the brutality on the news and go, I want that to be me. And that's not necessarily who I think we should want, especially with the zero oversight. Absolute immunity, is the vice president said. Now, that's not legally true, but since it's not going to prosecute it, it might as well be true. Masks, we don't know who they are. I mean, this is not like an overstep. This is not an agency run amok a little bit. This is bizarre. I think this is an emergency. This is really scary, and it's not normal.
Laura Chiti, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
this
For
interesting
the journalism, yeah.
career.
Yeah, this is like some good shoe leather work. We appreciate you.
It's a great read, too.